I think I'll call this meeting to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the next item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from the April 18th, 2023 meeting. And I have submitted a change to Jessica in one spot. Other than that,
I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes for the April 18th, 2023 meeting.
I'll second.
okay, I've got a motion and a second.
Grant.
Aye.
McLean.
Aye.
Calman.
Aye.
Mallard. Aye. Upshaw.
I'll abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing for the consideration and a vote to recommend approval of an amendment to the conditional use permit for heavy retail and service at 404 Northeast Street. E&K Diesel is the applicant. And I'll take a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second.
Grant.
Aye.
McLean.
Aye.
Calman.
Aye.
Mallard. Aye. Upshaw. So, E&K Diesel recently purchased the property at 404 Northeast Street to operate their diesel repair shop. The use is considered heavy retail and service in the LDO, which requires a conditional use permit in the thoroughfare access zoning district. The CUP for this property was originally approved in September of 2001 and requires amendments to conditions related to ordinance 2813. The LDO section 21-224 allows amendments to conditional use permits pursuant to the standards and procedures for the approval of the original use set forth in this article. Staff recommends approval of the amended conditional use permit with the following conditions. Item number 1 will remain the same. The hours of operation shall be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Item number 2, all customer and employee parking shall be located in the off-street parking lot or in the fenced area, which will remain the same. Item number 3, all overnight parking except for 4 after-hours drop-off spaces shall be in the fenced area. That appears to remain the same. Item number 5. Or item number 4, I'm sorry, the total number of cars in the fenced area shall be limited to 25, and operable vehicles may be stored no longer than 10 consecutive calendar days. That's a change. And item number 5, at any time, the city may institute revocation of the conditional use permit for violations of the conditions of approval, expiration, or the reasons specified in section 21-225 of the land development ordinance. The city shall provide notice to the landowner and the public in the same manner as was provided for the establishment of the conditional use permit. That remains the same. Does the planning commission wish to recommend approval of the amended conditional use permit for heavy retail and service at 404 Northeast E&K Diesel applicant?
All right, does anybody from the public wish to speak for or against this? Okay,
Then the applicant is here. Yes, I'm-
Yeah,
you wish to speak? You guys want to say anything?
You don't have to. If they have questions, they can ask you,
Okay.
or yeah, if I covered it, whichever you prefer.
So, hearing that, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
DeGrant.
Aye.
McLean.
Aye.
Calman.
Aye.
Parks is absent. Mallard. Aye. Upshaw.
Aye.
Okay.
I have a concern with the item number 4.
Okay.
That 10 days. I think that in this day and age, that may be too short
Too short.
because parts are hard to come by these days, or at least they have been, and I'm assuming they still are.
Mhm.
So I think we need to stretch that out a little further
Okay.
than that.
I'd like to add to that as far as in the fenced area, there's a limit of 25 vehicles. Sometimes I overheard you guys speaking earlier about, heads and engine taking over a month. We just finished an engine that took us 6 months to get in. So 25 kind of seems, I don't know, at times possibly not feasible. A fair number, I mean, we've been operating over at 1610 Industrial Park over in Mather's property for 5 years. And I think at one time there was 40 plus trucks over there. Not because we weren't, trying to work on it, it was just the day and age as far as parks. I don't know if you guys have driven by the property, but the property is being completely renovated. And the fence is getting completely redone, it'll all be enclosed, so it's not like junky cars are gonna be sitting around for long periods of time by our lack of coverage, so I would like to see about maybe upping that a little bit to give us some, flexibility to get these trucks prepared as quickly as possible. But I agree with you on extending the 10-day turnaround time for leaving your vehicle. We tried, I think.
I'll tell you what, could you come up to the
Yeah.
podium? The only reason I say that is the owl here will have a hard time picking you up from that far back.
Okay,
Okay, there you go.
sorry.
No, you're good. Okay. Go ahead if you want to finish, I interrupted you.
Oh, no, I had nothing else to say about it, so no.
Okay,
What number of vehicles, and the size of lot that you're gonna have, would you be needing, to put it that way?
This is my partner.
I would say probably 50. And that would give us what we need on a rotational basis, because we're gonna have drop-offs and people are gonna be picking up. But our business is kind of like waves. It kind of comes and goes. And we want to be able to accommodate everyone that wants to use our services. Plus, we have invested so much money and effort in that place, there's no way we can, make justified, I guess, for 20 people. It's impossible. So,
I truly understand that,
yeah.
and as Steve put, I'm in the same basically type of business, it's not diesel,
Right.
that, we've waited 30 days to get an engine. Or 3 weeks to get a head back. And I was thinking that needed to be adjusted.
And that's the kind of similar stuff we're dealing with, machine shop is taking 2 to 3 weeks versus 5-6 days. Some of the parts that we're trying to get, even dealerships taking literally 6 months, 3 months, some are unavailable. I have 2 trucks right now just sitting, waiting on TCMs from GM because they're on back order. It's hard to push these customers out,
Can I ask a question? Of the 50 that you would like to see there, how many of those cannot move under their own power?
Most of them always move.
Okay,
So you'll have maybe 10,
so
15
inoperable,
max.
in the LDO, inoperable is defined as cannot move under their own power. So they're missing parts that, if they're being stored, would not be able to move under their own power. That's the only difference with the inoperable as sitting as 10 consecutive days. So if that changes that. That's what the inoperable vehicles may be stored no longer than 10 consecutive calendar days. So while you might have 50 in your rear property, of that number, you could have up to a certain amount, which if it's 10, it's 10, if you feel the need for 15 or whatever the number is. The key word in that is inoperable. So that means they cannot move under their own power. So if you have 50 there, and right now, say that only 5 cannot move, if you were to go ask to move them under their own power, you would be meeting the conditions of this. So if that kind of changes the understanding of it a little bit.
So basically, number 4 only applies to inoperable vehicles, so there's no limit. on the
No,
number of vehicles that you have.
Number 4 refers to 2 different things, and if you want to change it to break it out into 2 separate numbers, we can do that. So number 4 would be in reference to every vehicle stored behind the fence.
Oh, I got it. I
And
forgot this.
and then it says of those numbers, inoperable could only be stored longer than 10 days.
Gotcha. Yeah, I missed the period. So a more reasonable number would be, say, limited to 50 with 10 of them being inoperable,
You could,
something like that. I mean, would that be?
We could work something out, with that, yeah, for sure. 'Cause I mean, most of the time, we stay on top of stuff and get them, out.
Right, because
So,
because the previous one, the previous ordinance states that the total number of cars in the fenced area shall be limited to 20 vehicles. No more than 2 vehicles shall be inoperable.
Correct.
So given supply chain constraints right now, that's why I took the 2 out, understanding that that might not always be a feasible thing,
Right.
and just changing it to 10 days, like any number of them,
Right.
but only for 10 days. So however you guys, if you want to go back to a certain number, that might be easier.
because you have more than plenty of lot size. So I mean, even at 50, it's not like you're gonna be stacking them in 3
No.
and bring like that. You're gonna have more than enough room.
yes,
So it's not like that's gonna become a real issue. So I don't know if like 50 and 10 would be more feasible.
50 and 10 for the 10 inoperable. Waiting on parts or whatever. I wouldn't have a problem with even bumping that, I mean, going with that 10. So you couldn't get in trouble, say 60 days, no more. Inoperable vehicles for 60 days,
right,
10,
sure.
because this supply chain is terrible. It's,
Yeah, you're feeling it too. It sounds like.
Yeah.
you don't like it, I don't like it, you like to get something and work on it and finish it right then and there, but
That's right.
right now you can't.
Yeah.
And that costs you time and money too.
So do you get that? I mean,
So 50. Inoperable at 10 cars, no longer than 60 days, calendar days.
Is that,
Yeah, that's very fair.
is that something you can work with?
Absolutely.
good. Do you have anything else?
I don't think there's anything else I would
They don't have one on here, and you weren't operating under, since where you're at, didn't require, if you had a limited use, so it wasn't a conditional use, so they don't, do you want a dealer's license?
Yeah.
You're gonna keep it?
We wanted to.
Okay, so that would be something else that they would, they need to ask for, because I didn't, if you
Okay.
could make spots available, like 2 spots available is for, they have a dealer's license to resell, if that's something you wanna consider.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't see a problem with that, given
okay,
the size of the facility. I don't see a problem with that.
are you planning on marking your, like, if they were to give you 2 spots, would you plan on like posting those as like reserved for
They'd
sale
be, the
vehicles?
vehicles that would be in that spot would be clearly marked.
Okay,
So as far as amount of numbered resale vehicles at the time, it's hard to distinguish how many. 5, 10, 20, because the market is still so up in the air.
Right, originally, when we're there, we don't have any space, et cetera, the 2 was fine,
Well, Randy gave us 5,
is that right?
matter.
So over here, we would like to opt out a little bit initially, and then when we develop the empty land, we would like to turn that into a full dealership eventually, but that's gonna be in the future. So
That'd be-
for the time
so
being,
that would
we'd
be
like
like,
to have.
that would be handled at a later date.
Yes, and that'd be a separate
Right,
issue altogether, yeah.
So if you wanna, converse about, spots available for sale vehicles,
Yeah, I can see it being reasonable for 2 spots for resale vehicles.
can we have more than that?
How many spots you got? How much parking is there? You know, anybody know how many?
you haven't structured a lot yet, have you?
We haven't strived to,
We
that,
expanded a lot.
Yeah,
there
I've
is.
seen you poured a lot of concrete.
Right,
It's not on, it's not on the corner, so they're not gonna be bothering anybody's sight line.
Mhm.
And they've got a lot of space there.
we would like to use that front where we kind of, did the outlining of the concrete there. Is where I like to just kind of stack it so everybody from the road can see that.
Yeah.
If possible. But of course, I don't wanna make it look tacky or, we don't wanna have. I'm guessing maybe 8 to 10 might fit. But we don't wanna,
Let me ask you this, Jessica. If they start selling cars out there, is this gonna change? Is that, how does that fall under
No,
Under the
because
cap.
we have others, heavy retail and sales CUPs, and they all have kind of a rider with for sale spots, but they're usually
Okay.
kept at a minimum.
okay, I just wanna make sure that we're not moving into another territory here by going from repair shop to sales.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're good there, okay.
Um,
Do you have a certain area you plan on parking the vehicles for sale?
yes,
they have this in their packet, so if you want.
Okay. Well, it's kind of-
So here's the,
I have a picture. I don't know if you guys can look at this or not, that might be able to help.
if you,
So. We were thinking right through here.
so if you
So
were
right
gonna
in-
group your
Right.
your overnights and your for sales over here.
Overnights will be kind of in the middle, if they're dropping it off, because we have enough space there, and we're just gonna dedicate this pretty much to just.
Yeah, you can walk around and show them if you like, just the report here.
So where would they be, right?
Yeah.
Along here?
Right along here.
Okay, so you'll have we had 4 drop-off spots or overnight drop-off spots, and then
We were thinking the drop-offs will be right next to the sign. There's enough space there for 4 vehicles.
Okay.
And it's all redone. And then this space here goes all the way to the back. So we counted, there's probably room in there for 8 to 10 trucks.
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, here.
I knew you'd extended it.
Right.
There appears to be plenty of spaces for everything, so.
We wanna put,
I would,
for 10?
well, whatever that, where he wants to put them, however many would fit in there along there. I would think. However many that is, I don't know how we're gonna define that.
I would put a number on it so that we're not back here or we're not sending letters saying, hey, you're a little, it's. Cause what, your definition of manageable versus theirs is all gonna be
Yeah,
different.
right, because I would guess that area would fit more than 10, but we could still just put a number on it.
And it's always something that if you guys get operating and you feel the need that, hey, we've outgrown this space, we need to look at it from a different point of view, then that would probably be the best way to do it.
10 for resale, 4 for drop off. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
So now. Somebody needs to make a motion.
I would make a motion. to Recommend approval of the amendments to the conditional use permit for heavy retail and service at 404 Northeast Street. With the,
Conditions.
everything we talked.
I'll second.
No, that's a little vague, but.
Or secret degree,
Aye.
McLean, Calvin,
Aye.
Mallard. Aye. Upshall.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
You got it.
Thank you. It'll be the council next one, so. I'll communicate that.
Right. We're ready for the 4th item this evening, which is another public hearing for the consideration and a vote to approve a variance for an accessory use structure at 506 East Peoria Street. Chad Kelsey is the applicant. I would take a motion, open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second that.
Got a motion and a second?
DeGrand,
Aye.
McLean,
Aye.
Calvin,
Aye.
Mallon. Aye. Upshaw.
Aye.
Chad Kelsey owns the property at 506 East Peoria. He's requested a variance from the maximum sidewall height of an accessory structure. Ordinance 3124 includes building standards for accessory structures, and stated in those standards is a sidewall height maximum of 10 feet. The desired sidewall height for this project would exceed 20 to allow for storage space above the garage. The ground floor area is roughly 756 square feet. And neighboring properties have accessory structures of similar heights, making this potential project consistent with neighborhood standards. He does live in an established part of town where there is no garage on the property. So, yeah, if the planning commission would wish to recommend approval of variance, staff is in agreement that this would be an appropriate application.
Is there anybody from the public that wants to speak? Did you receive any letters or any comments from the public?
Nope.
Okay, in that case,
I'd like a motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
DeGrand,
Aye.
McLean,
Aye.
Calvin,
aye.
Mauer. Aye. Upshaw.
Aye.
It is under the square footage is under what is allowed. He just wants to go up to save on, because his property is it's a smaller lot size.
Familiar
So he's
with
kind
it.
of, he's restricted by that.
I lived right behind there for a while, so. Pretty familiar with that. Plus, just down the street, they did the same thing down at the end of the alleyway
Mhm.
and went up and put base up above the garage.
Yeah.
And all, there,
They just
yeah,
raised the
there-
existing garage on that one, didn't they?
I believe so.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is,
So his other option would be to have two accessory structures, but to save yard space. This would be.
well, and it's older two-story houses, so a building like this will fit, should fit right in with no problem whatsoever, I would think.
I don't personally have a problem.
So with that, I'll make the motion this time.
Okay.
I move to approve the variance request at 506 East Peoria. Chad Kelsey is the applicant.
Second that.
All right,
DeGrand,
Aye.
McLean,
Aye.
Calvin,
aye.
Mauer. Aye. Upshaw.
Aye.
All right, the next item is a continuation from the last meeting. And it's the consideration and the vote to recommend the approval of the zoning text amendment for tiny home clusters in the city of Paola. So this is continuation from what we were discussing last meeting.
It's been a journey. We've been, our first, I was looking back on your minutes, our first discussion started in November of last year. Tiny homes. I did add a clarification on the density. Zoning codes either measure density on a gross or net basis. Net density includes individual lots in the measurements, while gross density takes into consideration street right of ways and common areas. So net density figures are typically higher by 50 to 70% than gross density numbers. Gross density measurements are often best used when looking at large developments that are likely to have internal roads and open spaces, and net densities are more often appropriate for neighborhood infill situations. Moving forward in the packet, the single-family residential conditions, everything remained the same. I think the hangup was on the general use table. So I wanted to include in the packet, just to help understand a little bit better what a tiny home might look like. There are existing homes in Paola that were built in the forties and fifties that technically meet the square footage sizes. So I included those in there. I mean, this one of these, the main floor living area is 480 square feet, which is what we've talked about for tiny home sizes. So on the general use table, use and lot standards, I did have a density max that I added in there. The net density was 12. So that would basically break out to, you can't have halves of houses, so you have about 12 tiny homes per acre. So that would be the density for them. It's, think about it in terms of like Indian Hills. This is just a subdivision being built on a micro scale, smaller lot sizes, smaller houses, but the same concept that they have to go through for that. I did bring the LDO where it calls out different densities for the other single family clusters, manufactured home clusters. So if you guys have any questions of what those numbers would look like per acre for those.
This, so let's, just so I'm clear, hopefully everybody else is. This just addresses tiny home clusters
Yes,
and guest houses.
yes,
It does not address if somebody wanted to build a tiny home on a city lot,
correct.
for instance, they would still be free to do that. There's just nothing that, this is just addressing clusters.
This is just, yes, addressing a single family home cluster,
Okay,
which is
okay. Yeah, I just want to be clear, make sure that,
the building code for single family homes. In the city code even has, there's requirements for wall length in that, so that's separate, so that's dictated under that. Or to answer to your individual lot. This would just be for if someone had a blank space and wanted to develop a
Five
subdivision of tiny
Yeah.
homes.
Yeah. I just want to be clear with that.
And then just to show, I know we all have in our minds what we see on TV as a tiny home. I did include some actual kits that are available. That's and it shows the square footage along with floor plans, just so you can kind of get an idea of. They can look like a traditional home, they're just on a very small scale.
So we have no manufactured homes in here. In list that can't have a tiny home does not include trailer, semi-trailer, camp trailer, recreational vehicle, or manufactured housing. Now, there are some folks out there, I believe they're manufacturing tiny homes and then bringing them in and setting them on a slab.
Okay.
So would that be banned then from this? Would that be under the definition of manufactured home?
Manufactured home in the LDO refers to the traditional, like not a mobile home in a mobile trailer home park, but a pre-manufactured.
Like a double wide?
Mhm. So I can add in here, if you would, if a tiny home built offsite to current building standards.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to go. I personally think that. Because when you're talking about tiny home, I mean, they're not very big, and
Right.
it takes some of these, like Scooters Coffee and some of these other places, they build them off site. They bring them in, drop them on a pad, and they're up and ready to go the next day. And I could see down the road, I mean, nobody's doing this right now, and we're trying to just be proactive and be ahead of the curve. But I could see somebody, if they were gonna do it, would do prefab, basically, so yeah.
So make an
As
allowance,
long as it's at the building code,
make an allowance for tiny homes pre-manufactured offsite to be moved in as long as they meet the current
Current
adopted
building.
buildings code.
Right,
yeah.
and I thought we had talked about, and I thought I remember a couple of months ago, we talked about that because we wanted, I think I brought up that I wanted to make sure that the axles were removed and the tongue was removed to make sure that it was on a permanent foundation. So it's not an actual mobile
Yeah.
home or,
And I think
Right.
I think we I think we may have talked about ground level and possibly attached to the slab somehow.
Right, right. To help prevent that in the.
Yeah, the footnote I seen Lewisburg has moved forward on that also. Within the paper.
Okay, so tiny homes built off-site under current adopted building codes placed on permanent foundation.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else?
I guess the only, when you say on a permanent foundation, are we gonna limit that to slab on grade, or are we gonna allow a basement under it? Or should that be addressed at this point? Cause I think several people can take foundation as a different focus.
Foundation is defined in building code, correct?
Slab has putting under the slab as a foundation, it's basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's what I'm getting at is, do we limit it to the slab on grade, or if we just leave it as foundation and somebody comes in and wants to say, put basement, full basements under them. And we didn't discuss it now,
Yeah, no, good, valid.
to at least limit it, I mean, if we.
Either a slab or a foundation with crawl space only, no basement.
Right, or I mean, or do we allow basements? I don't know.
Why would you preclude it?
Right, exactly, so that's why I'm trying to bring it up now, just leave it at foundation and then just. Okay,
They have to be approved.
Right.
By conditional use permit, so
true,
that can be,
very true,
that can be addressed.
Be able to be anchored to it.
right. Okay, I was just trying to eliminate, we say foundation today, but then 2-3 years later, somebody comes in and wants to do basements under them, and then, you know, well, that wasn't discussed, so that's why I figured I'd bring it up. Right.
So just leave it permanent foundation.
Yep, I think so, I'm good with that. So you need a motion?
Yes, please.
Right page. I will make a motion to the LDO text amendment for tiny home cluster developments affecting various sections of the LDO.
Second that motion.
DeGreen,
Aye.
McLean,
Aye.
Hellman,
Aye.
Mauer. Aye. Upshaw.
Aye.
All right.
Right, next item up is a consideration and vote to recommend approval of Heatherwood replat. BCFS Real Estate LLC is the applicant.
Okay. The Heatherwood replat is just for the block 11, Cottonwood Drive area that was originally approved in July 2004 as a planned unit development. That required a mixture of dwelling types. The applicant is seeking a change in requirements with the replat, recently completed by Allen Drews to allow for these lots to be sold as single-family detached residential. The sale of these, they're not selling, so he would like to try and change things up and allow for some single-family homes out there. There is a 20-foot build line along the frontage of each lot, as well as 10-foot utility easement shown on the plat, which is remaining. The planning commission wish to establish or wish to recommend the proposed replat of block 11, Heatherwood Estates, BCFS Real Estate LLC applicant.
So it shows 14 lots. What was it before?
The lots were originally, for townhomes.
Oh, okay. So this is a townhome, the single family then.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, there's only 3 townhomes out there,
okay.
and it shows, well, on 6, 3, and 9. Yeah, 6,
That's
3,
what
and 9.
existing town number.
Mhm. Now, up next to the school would be a good spot to draw in some new residential homes for humans.
Anybody have any comments,
I
concerns?
had nothing.
I think it'd be great to get that moving. It's been,
Well, go ahead, John.
I'd go ahead and make a motion to recommend approval for the proposed second plat of Palo Crossings.
No.
No problem. Heatherwood. Heatherwood.
Heatherwood, yeah, I'm thinking ahead.
You really got the next one.
I'll second.
Grand,
Aye.
McLean,
Aye.
Calvin,
Aye.
Mauer,
hi,
Elfeld.
Aye.
Yes. Is not here, sorry.
All right, next one up is consideration and vote to recommend approval of Paola Crossing. Second plat, Highlands Paola LLC is the applicant.
Final plat was completed by RL Buford and Associates LLC. The original final plat included lots 1 and 2 of the development. Lot 1 is Casey's, lot 2 is Scooters. The second plat is for the development, adding lot 3. It's currently zoned thoroughfare access, which permits a wide range of commercial and residential uses. The proposed lot will be for a commercial medical office. The minimum site area for this in the TA district is 10,000 square feet. Lot 3 is proposed at 49,285 square feet. There's a 25-foot building line frontage along each lot, as well as 25-foot utility easement shown. The plat also shows the existing 20-foot sanitary sewer easement running along the west side of the entire development. Staff recommends approval of proposed second plat for Paola Crossings. Have any questions?
I don't. You okay?
I'm good.
I'll make a motion then. I'll make a motion to recommend the approval of the second plat of Paola Crossing. Highlands Paola LLC is the applicant.
I'll second.
Grand,
Aye.
McLean,
Aye.
Calvin,
Aye.
Mauer,
hi.
Upshaw.
Aye.
Next item is consideration and vote to recommend approval of a VA medical clinic site plan. Highlands Paola LLC is the applicant.
Okay, so we just voted on the second plat, lot 3, so this will be the site plan for lot 3. Parcel is approximately 1.13 acres, and the site plan was done by Wilcher and Associates Consulting Engineers. The proposed use is a single-story medical clinic. Wilson and Company has reviewed the site plan for the city, and on-site drainage calculations and comments have been returned to the applicant. A minimum lot width of 150, setbacks are set at 25 feet for the street, 20 for the side and rear. Parking setbacks are 15 feet, which is provided. Parking requirements, 46 spaces, provided are 47. Of those, 88 spaces are 1 for every 25, and provided is 6, so that means the numbers. Trash enclosure shown, that the dumpsters will be enclosed in a masonry or wood structure. Sidewalks are to be required along Hench Lane on the south side of the property. No signage plan was provided, but can be approved at staff level. A landscaping plan can be submitted and be approved at staff level during the construction phase. Drainage calculations were sent to Wilson and Company and for review to be sure they comply with the APWA 5600 standards. It is recommended to approve approve the proposed final site plan so long as all the engineer comments are satisfied.
You mentioned something about signage
Mhm.
for like scooters and,
Yeah, like a wall sign or, like Casey's has their gas sign on ground monument, stuff like that can be approved as like local.
and anything about the retention pond now that I think it's completed or
There's your engineer.
it just,
Good evening, Steve Warder, 6127 Northwest Pine Ridge Circle, Parkville, Missouri. The engineer on the project, and yes, the detention basin is built with this, the first phase, the first 2 lots. And it is, I don't know, I didn't check to see if it's all the way done, I believe it is, so that satisfies the detention for the whole project. So we're not changing anything that we used in that design with what we're doing here. We anticipate on all this being developed.
Yes, they were asked to submit a micro drainage study in compliance with the macro drainage study, and that was supplied and just sent back just this week.
And we're okay with the conditions. We looked at the comments.
I just noted there was quite a bit of work on it and then it looked like the height of it went up.
We adjusted a little bit just for the lines because that place is just a rock pile.
Right.
And so, as you guys probably know, and I think that's why it was that way for a long time. It just, it just everything, it's all relative. Just move it up. Make it work to stay out of digging rock out. Just don't want it.
Yeah, it kind of looked like you guys had a nightmare on that. I seen the rock and
Oh, there's
ledges.
plenty of rock and, yeah.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the final site plan for Pella Crossings Lot 3 with conditions that applicant satisfy all review comments. Highlands Pella LLC applicant.
I'll second.
Green.
Aye.
McLean.
Aye.
Calvin.
Aye.
Mauer. Aye. Upshaw.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, Jessica.
Yeah.
You're up next.
Okay. Permits year to date, we just went over 160 Athley. Scooters permit was issued, so I haven't been out there to see if they started on it or yet. I'm guessing not with the weather. Next month for planning commission, it says to amend a CUP, and I just added one today. To actually hold the conditional use public hearing for the Haven. So it was not approved at council last week to the zoning map amendment was not approved. It was denied. So that, the potential buyer has now submitted information to apply for conditional use permit. So we'll hold a public hearing for that next month. And then the CUP that you recommended for 118 South Silver for the deer food, that was approved. Other than that, has got any questions for me, right? Yeah, that was his.
Yeah, congratulations.
Was the council last week, were they gonna discuss the 2 buildings?
Yes, so they had their public hearing. They voted for 115 West Via to allow 30 days for the owner of record to pull a permit to correct issues. Our building inspection has not heard anything from them. And then 809 South Silver, they voted 30 days to issue a permit to correct with another 30 days to complete work. So 60 days to little for that one.
I guess I got my normal question.
Sure.
About the property, the old donut shop area.
Yes, I did write a note for that. I got one. So Mitch, our code enforcement officer, had been dealing with him And he met with, Mr. Furnish the end of April. He's in the process of getting back out and cleaning up, with winter come around, he had kind of taken a step back from meeting with him on a monthly basis. So they have agreed that they will do 2 vehicles a month to be removed from back behind that fence, or 2 trailer loads of would be considered trash, to be removed from the property. And Mitch will continue to check in with him monthly to make sure he's staying on track with that. He has been to court for it, he's gotten a ticket for it, so it's gonna be a long process. It didn't take him overnight to get where he's at now, so it's not gonna be resolved overnight.
Do we have a number of vehicles that are back there?
Mitch did get to go behind the fence and see. I didn't get a number to count from him, but yeah.
But you're right, there's a lot just from what you can see.
There is,
There's
and
3 or 4 2-ton trucks.
Yeah.
There's
So-
there's a ton of stuff. What about?
we just ask for a little patience, because what you're gonna see in the short term is probably not gonna be very visible, because he has a lot of stuff behind the fence, behind the donut shop, and then the fence on the far back side of the property where that barn
Right.
is.
Right.
So a lot of what he's trying to work on is behind the fence.
Is that barn, is that even structurally sound?
I'm not a structural engineer, so I
I
can't,
mean, yeah,
yeah,
I just, like we've been condemned,
yeah,
you're in the possibility of condemning a couple of vehicles.
right.
Or a couple of structures.
So since it's active under a previous ticket issued by him, we just have to keep on a pace. If he's complying with conditions set forth by that, then that's how we have to proceed. You just have to allow them, they still have legal rights on things, so we just can't push too much on certain parts of it.
Well, and as long as progress is being made, we don't wanna, we would hate to see us have to pay to clean it up.
Yeah.
As long as some progress is being made, but you're right, you're not gonna see much progress
Yeah.
for a while at that rate, but at least.
You gotta trust the process.
Yeah, at least there's movement, so.
Any other questions?
I don't have anything.
I'd make a motion that we adjourn.
I will second that.
The Greens,
Aye.
McLean,
Aye.
Calvin,
Aye.
Mauer,
Aye.
Upshaw.
Hi.
All right, see y'all next month.
Sounds great.